Now, two top U.S. generals are in Kenya to investigate the al-Shabab attack this week that killed 3 Americans. Army General Stephen Townsend, head of the U.S. Africa Command, says he wants the dispatched generals to assess the situation and hear from troops to make sure they have the tools needed to accomplish their mission. 3 U.S. Department of Defense personnel, including 1 soldier, were killed last Sunday when al-Shabab fighters assaulted the Manda Bay airfield, which is used by Kenyan and U.S. counterterrorism forces. The attack was repelled by Kenyan and U.S. troops after using small arms fire for nearly an hour, according to an Africom official. The defense forces say that 5 attackers were also killed. Now for more insight on the Kenya attack investigation, VOA intelligence and national security correspondent Jeff Seldin joins me live via phone from the Pentagon. Jeff, what more can you tell us about this probe?
Well, the Africom commander, U.S. Army General Stephen Townsend, is sent the delegation, as you mentioned, to the base at Manda Bay, Kenya, to try to get what he called the ground truth, to hear directly from the troops and make sure, according to his words, that they have what they need to accomplish their mission. This comes after already an East Africa response force of about 50 to 100 troops was sent there to Manda Bay on Sunday to reinforce the base following the attack by al-Shabab. Now, this isn't the first time there have been concerns about security and protocol with U.S. forces in Africa. Remember, it was back in 2017 in Niger when a special forces mission was on patrol and was attacked by a group linked to the Islamic State terror group, and that resulted in the death of 4 Nigerian soldiers and 4 American soldiers, which resulted in a 6-month probe. So here, there's another situation. This time, the terror group is al-Shabab that has managed to launch this major attack, and of course, U.S. military officials, especially those with U.S. Africa Command, very concerned that the security perhaps is not what it needs to be and trying to figure out what they need to do differently to protect their forces against an attack.
Jeff, maybe just what you said, we've seen more attacks in Kenya, attempted attacks by al-Shabaab, and also in Somalia just in the last few weeks of this year. And one wonders, is there some sort of problem with intelligence sharing between Kenyan officials, Somali officials, and the U.S.? What are U.S. officials saying about this?
Well, what intelligence officials and counterterrorism officials tell me is that Africa as a whole, and Somalia in particular, has become a growing concern when it comes to jihadist Salafist groups like al-Shabaab, like Islamic State affiliates in the area. And it seems that despite efforts by the U.S. and countries in the region to crack down on these groups, to take out their leadership with drone strikes and other operations, that they've been very resilient, and perhaps no group has been as resilient as al-Shabaab. Remember, it was only several years ago that there was talk that al-Shabaab was going to break up, that a faction was going to defect, join Islamic State, and al-Shabaab was able to put down multiple rebellions within the organization and has emerged stronger. And that's just part of and it just fits in, according to counterterrorism officials, into this growing threat picture across Africa, where groups like al-Shabaab are able to assert their dominance more and more, operate with impunity more and more, especially basing their operations out of areas where the governments in question simply are not able to exercise the same level of control that perhaps they'd like.
Jeff, keep watching this for us. We'll get some more updates as the days go by. Jeff, thank you. And VOA's intelligence and national security correspondent, Jeff Seldin, there for us from the Pentagon.